Have you ever wondered what a high-level planning session for educators actually looks like? Well, today we get to peek behind the curtain. We're going inside a meeting where a team of experts is designing a training for school principals, and their goal? To solve two of the absolute biggest problems in education today, leader burnout and chronic student absenteeism. Let's see how they do it.
So it's in rooms just like this one where the real work happens. You've got experts like Naya Abdullah, Molly Watson, and Peggy Burnett-Wise, and they're not just throwing slides together. They're literally architecting an experience, one that's designed to renew, re-equip, and refocus school leaders who are out there on the front lines every single day.
Just let that quote sink in for a second. This is what these experts hear from principals constantly. Can you imagine making incredible progress with your students, but feeling like you can't even take a moment to celebrate because some external benchmark says you're still not good enough? That feeling, that is the weight that crushes morale and leads to burnout. It's the very first problem this team knows they have to solve.
So you see, the training has to fight on two fronts at the exact same time. On one side, you've got the leader's internal battle, the burnout, the feeling that you're not making a difference. And on the other, this huge external challenge of chronic absenteeism. The big insight here is that you can't fix one without the other. A burned-out leader has no energy to tackle absenteeism, and a school full of absent kids will burn out even the best leader. They're totally connected.
Okay, so let's dig into the first intervention, which is led by the expert Naya Abdullah. This one is focused squarely on that internal battle. The strategy she introduces is called savoring, and it's all about rebuilding a leader's sense of hope and giving them some much-needed emotional fuel.
Now, what is so crucial about this idea is the distinction it makes. Savoring is not toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything's amazing when it's not. It's an active, deliberate choice. It's saying, yes, this job is incredibly hard, but as Naya puts it, it's about refusing to let the hard erase the good. It's about intentionally finding and holding on to those positive moments, no matter how small they seem.
And here's the brilliant part. They make it a real, tangible practice. It's broken down into three simple actions. First, there's in the moment. Just noticing and pausing when something good happens, instead of immediately rushing to put out the next fire. Second is memory building, where you consciously freeze that moment in your mind, creating a little mental snapshot. And finally, retrospective, which is all about journaling those specific wins so you have this bank of positivity to draw from when things get tough.
And this is just a perfect example of what that retrospective practice looks like. The team pointed out that saying something vague, like, I'm grateful for my students, is nice, but it doesn't really have staying power. But being super specific, today Amara helped another student without being asked. She's becoming a leader. Now that creates a vivid memory you can actually feel and recall. That specificity is what builds real resilience.
All right, so the leader's internal battery is getting a chance to recharge. Now the training pivots to that second front, the external challenge. This is where Molly Watson steps in to design an intervention that goes way beyond the usual stuff, to tackle chronic absenteeism.
So Molly's framework gives leaders a way to organize their entire strategy. It's broken into three tiers. First, you've got your universal systems. These are the basics, like your attendance team and how you communicate. Then you've got Tier 1, which covers broader things like school culture and incentives for everyone. And finally, you have Tiers 2 and 3, for those students who need really targeted, intensive support. It's a way to see the whole picture.
But this right here, this is probably the most important question from Molly's entire session. She points out that schools are constantly confusing their systems with actual interventions. Sending that standard 5-day absence letter. That's not an intervention, it's just communication. Her question forces leaders to think deeper. If you're calling something an intervention, what specific problem did you diagnose that this action is supposed to solve?
So, if the old letter-home trick isn't the answer, where do you even start? Well, the team's guidance is really clear on this. If you're not sure what the root cause of a student's absence is, the most powerful thing you can do, and the thing most in your control, is to start with interventions that build a sense of belonging. By focusing on strengthening a student's connection to an adult or to the school itself, you start to uncover what's really going on.
This is what makes a planning session like this so good. They anticipate the tricky questions. Someone asks, okay, but what about the principal who's already figured this out? They even had a real example of a leader who took her school from 30% chronic absenteeism all the way down to just 2%. That's incredible. So how do you make this training valuable for her? And Naya Abdullah comes up with this absolutely elegant solution. She says that even in the best schools, nothing is perfect.
So you have those high-flying leaders dive into their own data, find their single worst learning condition, and worst might still be pretty darn good, and use the time in the session to plan how to make that one area even stronger. It's brilliant, because it guarantees that every single leader walks away with a clear and meaningful next step.
Okay, so they've designed powerful interventions for the leader's soul and for the school systems. But the team knows there's one final, massive hurdle. How do you make sure all these amazing ideas actually turn into action back at school and don't just disappear the moment the training is over? Molly Watson just nails the problem with this quote. As a coach who supports these principles, she's saying, look, I have a hard time following up effectively because I don't really know what they committed to doing. Without that specific information, coaching calls can be vague and accountability just fades away. A great session doesn't automatically create lasting change. And this is the beautifully simple, practical system they came up with, right there on the spot. Here's how it works. Step 1, put a hyperlink to a super simple form right in the presentation slides. Step 2, at the end of each section, principals take 2 minutes to type in their key takeaways and what they commit to doing. Step 3, this creates a running record that goes directly to their coaches, which leads to Step 4. The follow-up coaching is now laser-focused, specific, and way more effective. It's the bridge from a good idea to real action.
So as we wrap up this look inside their process, it really leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? The team designed these incredible tools for renewal and for strategy, but they knew that wasn't enough. The real breakthrough, the thing that tied it all together, was building a system for accountability. So think about that in your own work. What's the difference between a good idea and a change that actually lasts?